Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time we're looking at
The Stolen Stone?
The Stolen Stone, which is a children's book, but we're going to really take this one apart today.
Yeah, get some really fascinating ideas packed into what seems like a simple premise.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye, as we'll see. So the book tells the story of Evren,
An 11-year-old boy
an 11-year-old boy in
from Şanlıurfa, Turkey.
Şanlıurfa, Turkey, which most people probably haven't heard of, but this is...
It's home to Göbekli Tepe.
Yes, Göbekli Tepe, which
Incredible site.
is amazing. Correct.
It's believed to be
Like the oldest?
one of the oldest known temples in the world.
In the world, yeah. It dates back to the 10th millennium BC, which is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, it really challenges our understanding of early civilizations.
It really does. And Evren, our main character in the book, lives right near there. He's fascinated by these ruins.
Which is interesting because that fascination kind of sets the stage for his accidental journey to this other world.
Yeah, he ends up...
Göteki universe.
Göteki universe. Yeah, and it's this...
Parallel universe.
Parallel universe where humans are still living in a tribal society, so there's no...
No technology?
No technology, no internet, no...
None of the modern conveniences.
Yeah. So think about it for a second, everyone listening. I mean...
If you were suddenly...
What would you miss the most if you were plucked out of this world and just dropped into this completely different reality?
Yeah, how would you adapt?
Yeah. What would be the most shocking thing?
I think it's a really interesting way to explore, the whole spectrum of human existence and societal values.
Yeah, and we're going to get into all of that. But first, we need to introduce one more very important character.
Professor Flaket.
Professor Falaket.
His name literally translates to Professor Disaster.
Professor Disaster, yeah.
And it's pretty fitting.
It is.
Because
he's the one that really causes all the problems.
He's an ambitious scientist. He wants power, and he wants to control things. And he's got his eye on Göteki universe because there's this mysterious glowing stone there. The last piece of something called the Paralayan meteor.
Yeah, it's not just a rock to the tribe there in Göteki universe. It's like their history, it's their connection to their ancestors. It's
like a sacred object.
Yeah, passed down through generations.
Embodies the essence of their community.
Exactly. But Professor Falaket...
He's blinded by ambition.
Only sees a source of power.
Yeah, he thinks if he can harness the energy of this stone, then he can rule the world.
That's his goal. Yeah, so it makes you wonder, what is true power, right? Is it control or is it something else?
That's one of the big questions the book is asking us to think about.
For sure. So Professor Falaket is so obsessed with this stone that he actually builds a wormhole machine.
To travel to Göteki universe.
To travel to Göteki universe, yeah. And of course, things don't go according to plan.
Never do.
Evren, wishing to be anywhere but home at that moment, accidentally triggers the machine and ends up getting swapped with his counterpart in Göteki universe.
Like something out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? So now we have Evren in a world without any of the comforts of technology.
No phone, no internet.
Nothing he has to learn to weave baskets and grind herbs and forage for mushrooms.
Talk about culture shock.
Right. It's the ultimate digital detox.
But not one he was prepared for.
No. And meanwhile, his counterpart in our world is experiencing a completely different kind of shock. He's fascinated by magic boxes, which are phones.
And fast-moving vehicles.
He doesn't get why the relationships in his new family seem so distant.
I mean, it's almost comical to see how they react, but...
It's funny.
But there's also a deeper layer of social commentary there.
Yeah, it's like the authors are holding up a mirror to our own society and saying, hey, are we so focused on progress that we've forgotten about things like...
Human connection.
Yeah, and the simple joys of just...
spending time together.
Being present,
Yeah, and having meaningful rituals.
Exactly. And so we have these two Evrens, each trying to adjust to their new realities, and then we add another layer of complexity.
The Stolen Stone.
The Stolen Stone, which Professor Falaket took from Göteki universe, turns out to be even more important than we first thought.
It's not just a source of power.
It's central to this upcoming festival that the tribe has every year.
Yeah, it represents their history, their connection to the land, their sense of community.
Their whole cultural identity.
It's everything to them.
Yeah, but of course Professor Falaket...
He doesn't get it.
Doesn't get it at all. He's just focused on his own ambition. He can't see the bigger picture.
He's blind to the potential consequences of his actions.
Yeah, and that's where Evren, the one from our world, who's now in Göteki universe, steps in. He starts to understand how serious this situation is.
And he knows he has to get that stone back.
Before it's too late.
Before Professor Falaket escapes back to our universe.
Yeah, he's starting to see the world through new eyes. He's connecting with his new community.
It's a really powerful transformation.
And this is where we're going to pause for now. But before we go, I want to leave you with a question. What do you think you would do if you were suddenly dropped into a world that was completely different from your own?
Would you cling to your old ways, or would you embrace the unknown?
We'll delve into that question and more when we come back, so stay tuned.
So we left off with Evren realizing just how important that stolen stone really is to the tribe in Otaki Universe.
He's starting to see things from their point of view,
Yeah, he's understanding the interconnectedness of their lives, their respect for nature.
the importance of tradition.
Exactly. He's shedding that old tech-dependent self and kind of embracing this more grounded way of being.
It's almost like, you know how people in our world will go on these retreats and trying to disconnect from their devices and just be present in nature?
Yeah, I think there's this universal need for humans to find meaning beyond the material world.
Yeah, to connect with something bigger than themselves.
Exactly.
Mm.
But while Evren's having this internal shift, he still has that mission
Get the stone back.
to retrieve the stone and get it back to the tribe before Professor Falakit escapes.
And the book really builds that sense of urgency, right? It's a race against time.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's also showing the tribe preparing for their festival,
Right, which is all about the glowing stone.
their history, their unity.
It just adds another layer of depth to the story.
Yeah, it's not just about getting a stolen object back. It's about understanding the impact that this stone has on an entire community.
It's like their collective memory, their connection to the land, their hope for the future.
And Professor Falakit, he just doesn't see any of that.
He's so focused on his own ambitions,
Blinded by greed.
it makes you wonder about the choices we make in our own world.
With technology,
Are we overlooking important things in our pursuit of progress?
our cultural heritage, the things that bind us together,
It's a good question, and the book doesn't give us all the answers, but it definitely makes us think.
it's not anti-technology.
Yeah.
It's more about how we use it and the choices we make.
So in the middle of all this, Evren meets this old man in the tribe.
Kind of a wise mentor figure.
Yeah, he helps Evren understand the world around him in a deeper way.
He teaches him to see meaning in the ordinary.
There's this scene where the old man is pointing to a simple woven basket.
And he explains how it represents a whole story, a lineage of knowledge.
Passed down through generations.
It's beautiful.
It is, and while all this is happening in Oteki Universe, the other Evren, the one in our world,
He's having his own awakening.
remember, he's the one who's amazed by the magic boxes.
The phones and the cars.
But he's starting to feel this emptiness.
He sees people glued to their devices,
Their relationships seem superficial.
and he's longing for something more.
There's this really sad scene where he tries to share some fruit with his new parents.
An Eric.
Yeah, he just wants to connect with them.
But they don't understand.
They're just not used to that kind of simple gesture of connection.
It's like he's searching for that same sense of belonging that Evren is finding in the Iteki universe
But he can't find it in this world that's so focused on individual achievement.
and technology.
It's like the two Everens, their experiences are showing us the good and the bad of both worlds.
The potential pitfalls of our own society.
But it's not saying that technology is bad.
It's about balance.
Finding a way to use technology without losing sight of what truly matters.
Human connection, empathy, community.
And both Evans are trying to figure all of this out in their own ways.
One without technology and one surrounded by it, but longing for something more.
And it all comes back to this basic human need.
To find meaning,
Connection.
a place to belong.
And we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and see how it all ends. So here we are at the end of our deep dive into the stolen stone. And I'm really curious to see how this all wraps up.
Yeah, both of our Everens, they've been on quite a journey, and they're both starting to understand some pretty big things about life.
And they've been going about it in totally different ways.
Yeah.
You know, one surrounded by tech and the other in a world with none.
But it seems like they're both coming to the same realization that connection and community are what really matters.
That's so true. And it makes you think about what the book is really trying to say. You know, it's more than just an adventure story.
It's about what it means to be human.
Exactly. So let's get to it. Do they both succeed?
Well, in Oteki universe, Evren manages to trick Professor Falakit, and he gets that stone back just in time for the festival.
That's awesome. So the tribe gets to celebrate, and Evren is kind of the hero.
Yeah, it's a moment of real triumph for
Yeah.
everyone. They come together and celebrate their history and their unity.
And the other Evren in our world, does he find what he's looking for?
He does. He starts to understand that connection isn't just about being physically present.
It's more than that.
It's about shared experiences and empathy.
And he starts to see the people around him differently.
Yeah, he sees them as individuals with their own struggles and triumphs.
He learns to appreciate the little moments of connection.
Even in a world that can feel really overwhelming and disconnected.
It's like both Everins. They've gone through these totally different experiences, but they end up in the same place.
They both learn that true happiness comes from connection.
With other people, with yourself, with something bigger than yourself.
That's a powerful message, especially in a world that often tells us to focus on individual success and material things.
And even though the story is about these two parallel universes, it makes us think about our own world.
Our own choices, the things we prioritize.
What kind of world do we want to create?
Exactly. The book doesn't tell us what to think, but it definitely makes us ask these questions.
And that's what good stories do, right?
They make us think, they spark those conversations that stay with us.
So just when we think everything is wrapped up neatly, the book throws in a twist.
Professor Follett gets back in our world,
And he's still obsessed with power.
but now he has a new target.
It's like a reminder that even when we find understanding and connection, there are always forces that want to disrupt things.
Yeah, it leaves us with this question.
How do we navigate a world where good and bad coexist?
How do we stay true to our values when we're faced with challenges and people who want to divide us?
That's something we all have to figure out.
But I think The Stolen Stone gives us some clues. It reminds us that it's important to see things from different perspectives.
To try to understand each other.
And to remember that even when the world feels divided, we're all connected.
We all share this planet and this journey together.
So for everyone listening, we encourage you to check out The Stolen Stone.
It's a great read for all ages.
And as you read, think about this. What would your counterpart in a parallel universe be like?
What choices would they have made? How would their world have shaped them?
It's a fun thought experiment.
That might just give you some new insights into your own life.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep your minds open to the possibilities.
And that's our deep dive into The Stolen Stone. Thanks for listening.